we're starting at the back of the alphabet. Uh, Washington Commanders. All right. Um, so the way we have it set up here, Washington Commanders, teams with coaching changes, fired Riverboat Ron Rivera, hired Dan Quinn. Lucas, your grade. Go ahead and give your grade and talk.
So my grade, I have a B minus down, which, that's the rankings. If I have an A grade, that's like slam dunk higher. B is like, I like it. It's not like a slam dunk, but I don't see it really going wrong in the near future, at least. C is there's a lot of questions, but it has potential. And then the D is just, I hate it. Um, and then F is this guy is awful. Um, but so I have a B minus here for the Dan Quinn hire. They did fire Ron Rivera, who, I mean, that was coming. That the entire second half of the year, the entire fan base knew it. Probably the ownership knew it too. Probably Ron himself even knew it. At least the last few weeks there. It was one of those things that had to happen. They had to move on. But this is an interesting time for this organization because obviously they have a new ownership group that just bought from Dan Snyder a year ago. They have the second overall pick in the draft. And now they're getting a new coach in Dan Quinn. What I like about this hire is that they're pairing it with a new offensive coordinator hire, Cliff Kingsbury. Not a great record at head coach, but he has a very good offensive mind. He's worked with some really good quarterbacks in college. He worked with Kyler Murray a lot, helped him to have a decent career in Arizona. He's not, a Patrick Mahomes or anything, but he's definitely a franchise quarterback over there. So, I mean, he's a brilliant offensive mind. And so Dan Quinn's going to be able to focus on the defense here, just, leading the team in defense. And I think that is his specialty. That's what he was able to do with the Cowboys, and it worked out really well. They were able to build a great defense that fit his scheme and was really dominant for, almost the entire stretch he was there. He had one of the best defenses, top 5 every single year, it seemed like. They created turnovers. They got pressure on the quarterback. They made tackles. So, I kind of like this hire. I think fans were kind of hoping for a slam dunk hire like a Bill Belichick or Ben Johnson. I know was a name that was thrown out there a lot to come to the Commanders, and that would have just been awesome. That would have put an A grade on this, I think, if they would have got Ben Johnson. But what I have down, he's got head coaching experience. This is one of the few guys on this list that is not a first-time head coach. He's been to a Super Bowl. He had one of the greatest Super Bowl collapses, but we won't mention that when we're talking positively about him. So yeah, he's got the experience of a head coach, being a leader, being a winner over there. I don't know. It's not like a move the needle type of thing, but I don't really see a lot going wrong here, at least like instantaneously. Like they're going to give him time to build and develop this team, and I think that maybe this year or at least next year and the years to come, they're going to be a consistent playoff team competing in the Beast every year. But I think personally that Dan Quinn, he's going to be as good as the team that he gets. Like Dallas over there, they gave him studs on defense. They gave him Trayvon Diggs, a turnover machine. They gave him Micah Parsons, one of the best guys at getting pressure on the quarterback in the league. And so I think that if you give him good players, this team is going to be really good. So I think, honestly, the pressure on the organization lies in the front office and the new GM that they just got from the 49ers. I'm forgetting his name right now, but he was the assistant GM of the 49ers who assembled one of the best rosters in football. I think the pressure's on them to build a championship team. He seems like a pretty good leader. He's a great defensive mind, and yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I got a B minus. I like it, don't love it. I find it hard for things to go wrong, at least instantly. And I don't know if this is like the Super Bowl coach that, you see raising the Lombardi for the Commanders here in a few years. I don't know if I see that, but I do see playoffs and good times ahead for them.
I kind of agree with you on the sense that it's not like an instantaneous, uh, disaster with hiring Dan Quinn. My grade's pretty similar, although it is a full letter. Technically, it's a letter grade below. I went with C plus, and here's what I had to say. It's not necessarily a bad hire at all. And in fact, I think this was a really good hire a year ago. If they would have fired Ron Rivera a year ago, I think this would have been pretty close to a slam dunk hire for how good that defense was last year, pretty much throughout the whole year. Um, but I'm not entirely sure if this was the right hire either this year. Some real positives of Dan Quinn being your coach is that he has had some real success, as you mentioned, Luke, already in the NFL as a head coach, taking a team to a Super Bowl, having a quarterback win MVP, stuff like that. And another major plus is that he already knows the division. He's been coaching in the division for, I guess, what, three or 4 years now, as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. So that really helps. That's going to
3 years,
help.
I think.
That's going to help when he comes time to play the Cowboys twice a year, especially, and then obviously the Giants and the Eagles. So that's big. And then I honestly, like I said, though, I think this would have been a better hire last year because at the end of the year, the Cowboys defense kind of just flinged out. And that can happen sometimes, especially with good units that aren't great units, but good units, that they've got young guys, maybe not a whole lot of experience, some injuries happen, and then they just fling out. And that's kind of what happened. I was kind of shocked by it though, because Dan Quinn's defenses had been so good. And like I had said, if this hire had happened a year ago, I think it would have been a really, really good hire. Um, but I'm not so sure this year. With Bill Belichick out there, Mike Vrabel. Hell, I don't think Mike Vrabel was ever even really mentioned at all with the Commanders, but still, one of those names out there. And you mentioned Ben Johnson, which is a very good one, and obviously he didn't land anywhere, and I agree with you. I think that would have been a good one too, especially you're going to be drafting a quarterback this year. It's going to be Jaden Daniels or it's going to be Drake May, and I think maybe trying to hire an offensive minded coach to help your brand new quarterback would have been good. We did mention that Cliff Kingsbury is going to be coming in, and hopefully he can take care of the quarterback situation. But I'm not going to lie, I'm not totally convinced that Cliff Kingsbury is some kind of quarterback whisperer or anything like that. I mean, he had a losing record with Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. And, he also, they had a losing record with the Cardinals, and Kyler Murray, it kind of feels like he is what he is. I don't know if he's ever going to get that much better than what he is. And, not that that's all Cliff's fault, but I don't know if I don't know if bringing in Cliff is like, the end all be all for a brand new quarterback. So that's why I think Ben Johnson maybe not such a bad idea either. If you didn't go with Vrabel or Belichick, because Quinn isn't a quarterback whisperer, and I don't think Cliff really is either. And also, one thing we didn't mention is it's not the easiest division to build a defense, because there's a lot of really good offenses in this division as well. They do already have some pieces, and you did say if they just put good players around Dan Quinn, he's probably going to win. And you can say that pretty much about any coach, though, except for maybe Brandon Staley, it seems like. But I think it's a fine hire. I agree with you, Luke. I don't think it's going to backfire anytime soon. I think they had some bigger fish out there that they could have tried to reel in. And I think this would have been a better hire last year.
Yeah, I do have. You said you weren't totally convinced on Cliff Kingsbury's record, but He's an offensive guy, and that's what I said. A head coaching record, maybe not so good, but in college with Patrick Mahomes, um, in 2015 and 16, in those 2 years, they finished first and second in total offense in the nation with Patrick Mahomes. So like top tier offense. It wasn't like, yeah, sure, the team had a losing record, but the offense was not the problem on that team.
Yeah, but you also
Um,
had Patrick Mahomes. And I am not
it was
convinced that he is the
before he was
sole
Patrick Mahomes.
reason. No, not really. It's still yes, I get what you're saying, but it's still, I mean, that's like saying Michael Jordan at North Carolina was Michael Jordan before he was Michael Jordan in the NBA. It's still Michael Jordan. It's just the younger version. Like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is going to do crazy things in college too. And maybe I could be way off. Maybe Cliff had so much to do with it. But after all the success Patrick Mahomes has had in the NFL, I don't know if I can be like, maybe this was a little bit more on Mahomes and not on Cliff. Because they
Yeah,
also
but
played in the Big 12 against Big 12 defenses. That's a
they're not as
shootout
good.
league with you have gonna be one of the best quarterbacks of all time at a Big 12 school. Yeah, you're gonna be playing in shootouts.
Yeah, but so in 2016, which was Patrick Mahomes' last year at Texas Tech, they led the nation in total offensive yards and passing yards, and they finished fifth in scoring in the nation. It was also the sixth consecutive season in which a Kingsbury-led offense finished in the top 10 in total offense.
Another point to point out. College is different than the NFL. That's also true.
That is true.
Especially the Big 12 and such. The Big 12 and the NFL is very, very, very different.
Well, yeah,
But
but
I'm not to
he's a
bash
great
your
offensive
point.
mind still.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. He definitely took what he had in the Big 12 and made the most of it. And that's a reason why he's working in the at the NFL level, is what he was
Mm-hmm.
able to do in college. I mean, you just work with what you got, and he definitely did that. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think he's one, a quarterback whisperer, and two, I haven't seen enough like NFL success or players that he's coached in the NFL to be like, oh, this is gonna be great. But I do think you're right. It's gonna help with the fact that Dan's gonna be able to control the defense, which is a major plus. But I also think Dan might find him in a spot at some point if things don't go, or if they do go awry, where he's like, oh man, Cliff is really kind of steering us where we don't want to be in. He has to dip into the offensive side too, and that could hurt things. But um, that's a lot of what ifs. But
Yeah, I mean it's a time of they're going through a big change right now, and they're going to invest a lot of time in this number 2 pick. I'm sure of it. On which quarterback they want to choose, which one is going to fit Cliff Kingsbury better, which one's going to fit the Washington organization better. It will be funny if it is Drake May, because then they'll have both of the UNC quarterbacks doing I know we've talked about this before, but the complete color swap. Like if you look at the color wheel, complete opposites, the burgundy and yellow with the Tar Heel blue and the navy blue. So would be quite funny.
it'd just be crazy because I it'd just be weird because Sam Howell, when we flipped Drake May to from Alabama to North Carolina, it was kind of crazy because we hadn't really flipped somebody like that since Sam Howell. Well, he gets there, Sam Howell is, in and out of Heisman talk and stuff, in and out. Carolina kind of is having these weird seasons and stuff, but he's never able to start over Sam. Sam was clearly the better player while before Sam left, and then Drake May, his first season is bonkers. This past season was pretty bonkers too. I mean, he's really damn good, but it's going to be interesting. You draft him, you're back in the same locker room again, and Sam is back ahead of him. You know what I mean? Like it's just weird.
Yeah.
Sam's not going to want to give up the job.
Mm-mm.
So definitely a weird
Yeah.
dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. And then one more thing about Cliff Kingsbury, just a quick thing. So when he was at Houston, the first school he was at, Case Keenum was the quarterback, and by the time he went to the NFL, he finished as the all-time passing yards leader and touchdowns leader in college football history. Then he coached Johnny Manziel with his Heisman season at Texas A&M. Then he went to Texas Tech, Baker Mayfield, Patrick Mahomes, a couple of first-round picks, great NFL quarterbacks. And then obviously he did some work with USC this year, and Caleb Williams, which I know was a talking point with the Bears. We're kind of looking to hire him, but that fell through. So I mean,
I
he
think,
definitely has experience with talented quarterbacks.
he definitely does, especially when they're at the college level. I think personally, Caleb Williams, I think it sucks because this would really set back the Commanders a little bit. And I don't think that it's that much of a gap as maybe we're thinking between Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels. Although, and then it takes me like 2 minutes to be back on this train where I'm like, there is a huge gap between them, between 2 and 3 and Caleb Williams. But Caleb Williams, it would be so much better if he could just be a Commander because he's literally from DC area. You know what I mean? Like he has the Cliff connection. You don't have that weird quarterback dynamic with Drake May and Sam Howell luring in your locker room. Easy color transition from red to
Yeah.
that burgundy red. That's way better than what we were talking about with Drake May. It's
And then
just
you don't have to
it's
deal with the
a better
Bears
fit.
either. You don't have to be a Bears quarterback, which is had an eternal curse, like literally eternal. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. I think that if the Commanders wanted to do it, that they would simply try. But I don't think the Bears want to give up that pick. I think they want him,
Yeah.
which makes sense. Which is a rare, Bears good thing to do. But yeah, that's the Commanders. That's Dan Quinn.
All